I don't think you could define real randomness in this universe, frankly. I think that's a meaningless word that was invented by mathematicians to things they could not explain. For example, because it depends on, this is where for example, oh, what's his name? The great mathematician was saying that what we call random just means that we're at a different level of viewing, right? So from our point of view, the motion of molecules in a glass jar, right? That's random, right? But he points out, I wish I could remember his name. Maybe you can help me. That if you look at it from the level of the molecule, it's not random at all. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this random, can you name something that's random in this world? Anything in this universe that's random? Anything?
I mean, I can only say I don't know the cause. That's it.
Right, but that's not the same
It
thing as
can be.
that's not the same thing as randomness, right?
Yeah, it's not the
Okay.
same thing. Yeah.
So yeah, so humility mandates, and also reason mandates that we get away with this, do away with this word random. We're not going to understand anything that way either. So if you looked at Bombay from 1,000 miles up, the movement of people would look random, right? But if you went down to the street and you asked people where they were going, it wouldn't be random at all. You see? Okay. So like we can get rid of randomness in this universe, and it's probably time to do that. Next, next question or follow up to that one?
It's a. Can we go back to that question of seeing a bird as a thought and
Okay.
seeing a person is a thought?
All right. So let's state the question. Birds are as real. Your thoughts are as real as birds. They both. How do I say this? It's a matter of experience, right? You have to experience this. You need to know that your thought. You see, people don't know their thoughts. They just kind of imagine they know what their thoughts are, and they don't know where their thoughts come from either, right? And they don't know any of the size or the shape or the weight or the depth or the speed of their thoughts, right? Because they don't have enough sensibility yet, right? But when they do that, they begin to notice different things, right? And one of them is that the objects in consciousness are just objects in consciousness, right? And so a thought is an object in consciousness. A bird is an object in consciousness. It's very simple, but it does take it does take perception, right? That's why I hope that people like learn to look at their minds a little bit more thoroughly, because we're going around just doing all kinds of crazy things to the world, but we don't have control of our own minds, so that creates all kinds of problems. Follow up?
So
Go ahead.
yeah. So like this process of seeing something where it emits photons, they hit the eye, and then the brain sends an image, those things. But the source of that object is still there, right? So the
What
bird is
object
still
is still
there,
there?
and
What object is still there? So
so
the
the object that I'm calling a bird
oh,
is
you
still
think
like
it's
exists
there?
now.
What's it made of?
It's made of the world stuff, like the matter.
Okay, it's made up of matter. What's matter made of? Made up of?
Matter is made up of like molecules, atoms,
Okay, what are molecules
quarks,
and
those
atoms made
things.
up? What are atoms made up of?
Electrons, electrons,
Okay, and what are those made
protons,
up of?
those stuff.
And what are those made up of? Subatomic particles.
Uh, yeah. So what?
Okay, now
There's
subatomic
a lot of
particles are just
things.
mathematical descriptions. You know that, right? No one's ever gotten
Yeah.
one, and
Yeah.
they're descriptions of things that we observe, say in a in a proton collider or something like that. And I know there are people who are adamantly insistent that this world must be physical, right? But I think those days are coming to a close. Because for one thing, we can create virtual realities, right? Which will have all of the same characteristics if we decide to do it that way. But it's not physical. So as long as you believe that the birds and the trees and your thoughts and the world is physical, or that light is physical, then you're living in another world, right? Because the science doesn't back you up, in my opinion. Now, there's many physicists that will argue with that, but there's just as many and more every day that are saying, hey, with quantum mechanics, we don't have any idea what's going on there. Right? There was a quote recently, Bertrand Russell. I mean, in mathematics, we know what mathematics does, but we don't know what it's about, right? We don't know I know it's easy to think, okay, well, there's 16 of these objects, so that's what 16 is. But then so that's 16 objects, but what is 16 inherently? What is a number inherently? And you can get off into all kinds of philosophical things like this, but I suggest sticking with the science, understanding the quantum mechanics, understanding Schrodinger's uncertainty principle, and the cat. I'm sorry, Schrodinger's cat experiments, and understand. Just take a look. Physics has gone through a terribly beautiful, wonderful, but very disconcerting revolution of sorts. I don't know if revolution is a word. They just, boom, got smacked in the face. Right? This will all be clear later, more clear later, but this world cannot be physical. Let me see if something else comes to mind. Let's see. No, this world is consciousness, I'm afraid. Not afraid, but that's the fact. That's the reality. This world is consciousness. What else could it be? The thing's expanding faster than the speed of light outwards. That's a hint. Or then it caves into what they call a black hole. And where does that go? Well, to another universe, supposedly. Right? And then you have people like David Deutsch and other people talking about multiverses, where every time, let's say, instead of raising this pencil up this way, I raise this pencil up this way, or pen this way, then we're in a different universe, right? And so the quantum, the splitting of universes off and off and off. So no, we don't even, the physicists have no idea what the universe is at this point. But I think they will come to the conclusion that it is consciousness. And that's happening more and more every day. Next question. I mean, it's hard, though, because some people they're religiously fanatic about it. They say, it's physical. I know it's physical. Right? I know, because I can knock it like this. But the thing is, you can go into a dream, and I've done this, and everybody should do it. I can go into a dream, have two pencils in my hand, knock them like that, and they're hard, and they make the sound. And they have weight. And that's all dreamt. That's all a dream. So, I mean, it's not, I don't know. This has been an argument or disagreement between the idealists and the Aristotelians for a long time. And I'm not a philosopher, so but it's going to resolve. And by the way, so I don't believe in this. We live in a virtual reality thing, right? But a lot of very solid people do. So they think that either we live in somebody's computation, right? Which is kind of silly because it just pushes a question back, or that we live in a physical universe. Well, which is it? Right? So dreams, virtual realities, and I don't see, everybody should make up their own mind. But I don't see much evidence for a physical world out there. And I think most thinking people agree with me these days. Because pendulums swing from Plato to Aristotle and back. And now we're on a swing more to Plato, Socrates, Heraclitus. Okay? Next question?
I'm still digesting what you said.
Okay. Take your time.
So So I have also done that in the dream, that I have touched objects, I have moved objects, they had weight, and I had weight, and they felt physical, I felt physical, and
Good.
then I woke up, and
Excellent.
I and again this physical, like the physical stuff is there. But seeing this thing in dreams, that it's dream stuff, doesn't make doesn't say that the world is not physical. Like this, like I
Well,
can,
okay.
like
All
that
right. But
makes me.
okay, excuse me 1 second. Would you agree that the dream world is not physical?
Yeah,
When you're asleep and dreaming, do you agree that that's not physical?
yeah.
Okay, that's all. It's not to prove it. It's to just demonstrate that the mind, consciousness, is able to create a world with weight and with texture and with sound and with smell. That's all. It's a corollary point. It's not. It's just an example of how we can create a world with consciousness. That's all. So it's not unthinkable. And then you should probably look up Boltzmann. Boltzmann thought the most like. Well, I don't know if he thought it was the most likely thing because he got in a lot of trouble with his physicist friends back then. Because we've because science goes through fashions too, and this one's lasted a few hundred years. But Boltzmann believed that it would be more economical for one brain to be hallucinating the entire universe, imagining the universe, because the entropy and the energy involved were configured or is such that it would be more likely from an energetic point of view, or something like that. So look him up, Boltzmann's brains. But go ahead, back to your dream.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So what you said, that that yeah, I'm open to the idea that the world is probably not, is maybe not physical, because I saw that in my dream. It's a dream stuff, and it felt real while I was sleeping and dreaming.
Okay, good. So that's a big fat
Yeah.
hint, right? That's a big clue. But it's not, it doesn't answer the whole thing. And I'm not really in the business of trying to convince people that this is true. I think it's better for people to discover it on their own, right? And once they discover it on their own, like the Buddhists have and the Hindus have, and even Jesus, the kingdom of God is within you. It's nearer to you than your jugular vein. And I mean, this is not a secret, you know. It's just that we got so carried away with the scientific enlightenment that we went to rational reductionism, and we took it. I think we took it really far. And if you're going to give the human monkeys some credit, you'd have to give them a lot of credit for creating these AIs and stuff like that, from sheer power of just this particular model. But then it's going to come back on itself and show that the truth has been the truth all along, right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. I don't have any more questions for
Okay, good.
today.
All right, well, keep the faith, keep at it, and look,
Mm.
the world is changing rapidly. Those who will, so one has to change rapidly with it. If you try and resist it, you'll get mowed down. So this is where Taoism comes in very, very handy. You have to accord with what is, with the reality of what is. Now, the reality is likely to change dramatically very, very soon. It already has. And so it's a matter of saying, okay, well, I'm not attached to any particular ideology. I'm not attached to any particular conditioned thoughts that I got from my mom and my dad. I'm not particularly attached to one model of of the world or reality. I need to kind of discover this for myself. And I'm not full of dog. I'm not rigid. I don't have rigid dogma that makes it impossible for me to change with the rest of the world, right? And it'll be fine, but it's going to be it's going to be up and down and kind of entertaining for sure, and potentially dangerous and difficult for many people because they're losing their minds, right? So, okay, thank you, sir. Keep the faith.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.